Hi everybody. It's Saturday. It's Saturday. I'm about 2.5 weeks late on an episode, which is there's a long grocery list of reasons why, but only really one matters that pertains to today's episode with Kapri and Ben. Um, and that was that I couldn't find the words to say. Couldn't find the words to say during this intro. I tossed it around a lot in my head, but none really stuck until now. Of course, it's 10 minutes before I have to go to work or whatever, but that's fine. During parts of this interview, it's more of a discussion. I don't even know if it's really an interview, but we discuss ideas and we discuss things that I wanted to bring up, and Capri and Ben were nice enough to indulge me. And I wanted to stress test some ideas that I had about race and about white privilege and about the current gentrification of the Short North, which is an area that the three of us hang out in quite frequently. And yeah, I walked away with a changed mind and a better perspective. I mean, definitely a better perspective, but it's definitely not like fully better yet. I think it needs to be cultivated and worked on more, and it was interesting. So self-awareness is something that we all have to varying degrees, but when you're only worried about your shit, your awareness of you don't really think about the awareness of another. You know what I mean? About somebody who might go through something that you can't even work on because it's not existent in your life. So the only thing you can do is use their perspective and other perspectives that you gain, hopefully in the search of more awareness. So maybe that's not even it. It's not even self-awareness. It's just awareness. Being aware of the multiple layers that is this world and having to just have a better shot at understanding them, so maybe you can make a difference. Maybe you can help communicate the idea or change the idea or just acknowledge it at all is a start. You know what I mean? And that was something I was hesitant to do to a degree at the beginning of before I recorded this episode, I guess. But now, I'm asking myself a lot of questions thanks to Capri and Ben. I really have the unsolicited advice that we give during the episode is to check yourself. Check what you're saying, check what you're thinking, and seeing if it's really what you want it to be or really what you think it is. Because nobody's perfect. Nobody knows everything. So it'd be silly to think that your idea about a topic or a situation or a circumstance of this world would be right. Nobody knows everything. Ideas are fluid, they're not rigid. And I think the advice to check yourself frequently is really just to reiterate that ideas are fluid and that things should change. And if they don't change, what the fuck are we doing? Change is good. It's scary, but it's good and it's necessary. And I just want to say thank you to Capri and Ben for allowing me to discuss these ideas with you guys. It was a lot of fun, and I hope everybody enjoys it. I think you will. It was pretty cool. Without further ado, Kapri Brown and Ben Willis on today's episode of Unsolicited Advice. One more thing. It was early on a Friday morning when we recorded this podcast a week and a half ago. There took a little while to get everybody woken up, get the ball rolling. I had ingested enough coffee for everybody at the table in the first morning there, but it just took everybody a little bit. And the microphone was a new element for them. So at first things are a little quiet, but hopefully in post we were able to clean some of that up and and get it there for you. All right, here we go. Unsolicited advice. Kapri Brown and Ben Willis.
We're sipping coffee, you're in my front seat. Please tell me what's going on in that mind. I've known you for a long time. I'm not always right, I'm only trying to be nice with my unsolicited advice. Unsolicited advice.
We're live. Hi, everybody. It's we're back. This is the first podcast back since the challenge was over.
Is it?
It is. Yeah, I'm opening it up with you guys, which is fantastic. Sitting with me is Kapri and Ben. Kapri, what's your last name?
Brown.
Kapri Brown. So you can't hear yourself. And Ben, what's your last name?
Ben Willis.
Willis.
Okay.
Ben Willis. All right. You know what? How about you guys do the grab it, and then you pass it?
You want to grab it and pass it? Yeah, because we're kind of too.
I think that'll be nice. Unless you guys want to get really close to a phallic shape together, that's up to you. Awesome. So, both Columbus locals, born and raised. Ben, you asked me to kind of give a bio for myself for you because you don't know me very well.
I did. Yeah.
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I moved down here 3.5 years ago. Not really for anything, just to move out of the city of Cleveland because I don't like it there. And I like it here a lot, and I had a bunch of friends here. Didn't really have any school or work opportunities, just had friends. And since then have been trying to make it in Columbus. Yeah.
Why? Why did you want to leave Cleveland? Because you didn't like it? What didn't you like about it?
I didn't like, and this is something that I didn't like. It seemed like a fresh opportunity, and I had done a lot. I hadn't done anything of mention in Cleveland. You know, I just went to school, went to college in Cleveland State, and then lived downtown for a little bit. But I didn't see a lot of, you know how everybody says like Cleveland's on the rise? It's
weird to say the same thing about
It's Columbus. A very slow rise. Yeah, but like Columbus was never in like an economic turmoil, at least not in the last, was it? 2008.
We had a great recession as a country.
As a country, but Columbus was pretty much almost unaffected by the recession.
No, it was affected.
So? It was?
Yeah,
Tell
in
me
fact,
about that.
we have one of the highest economic disparities in the country. In 2014, we were in the number one.
Economic disparity?
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily have to do with recession.
This is true, but I would say and argue that it does incorporate it. There is a correlation.
There is a correlation, sure.
Yeah.
But that's fair.
Yeah,
There
I
is
think
a
we
somewhat
agree
correlation.
that
In 2008, the recession that hit in Cleveland wiped out Cleveland's economy, and it wiped out the downtown area. So you'd walk down, you know, Euclid Ave, which is like the main road, and they're in the middle of the day, and there'd be not a soul in the whole downtown, which is a very weird feeling, very spooky.
Yeah.
In the middle of a work day, nobody around, nobody works down there. Population was at like 0, and then it's a slow build back up, and I just didn't really want to spend the time waiting for the slow build because the culture there is not very nice. The going out is kind of weird there. There's a lot of like masculinely weird, like Rust Belt energy.
Yeah, I mean, we got that here too, though.
A little bit, yeah.
Rust Belt energy is kind of wild.
Yeah, Rust Belt energy. You like that? You like that?
Like a Kings of Leon song or something. Yeah.
So yeah, then I moved down here and started working in restaurants and shit, and that's pretty much been it.
Where do you work?
Yeah.
Right now I work at 3rd and Hollywood,
Oh, nice.
which is a semi-casual fine dining restaurant in
They're,
Grandview.
Artichokes. The artichokes slap.
Yeah, I actually just got to.
They're
You just came by to visit, Ben, the other day. Yeah,
I did. I
got to
had
see
the artichokes.
you and the chain gang.
Chain gang.
Chain shit.
I was disappointed that Kapri wasn't there.
I think I was broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably broke.
See, but you can't hear you. You can't hear your little lovely input. So you guys gotta.
I don't know if I want to hear myself. Will it affect?
Do you want to take the? Well, I mean, you gotta be able to hear.
Yeah.
It's just like a
what we're
check-in.
saying.
You know what I'm saying? Here, we'll crank you guys up. How about that? And then we'll see how that goes.
Sorry.
You're good, bro. All right. So now that we have a little bit of intro on me,
I haven't had to hear myself
what is
this much since I had a disposition.
So now, yeah, you guys go. Kapri, where are you from in Columbus?
I'm from everywhere. I lived on every side of town. I lived on the west side, north side,
Where's the first place?
around here.
First side was in the Shore North area,
Yeah.
which is technically Franklinton.
Yeah, well, my family lived on 4th for
Okay.
a long time, and then we moved to Hilliard when I was super young. And then I moved from Hilliard to Westerville for high school.
Okay. Ben?
I grew up a little bit near the Children's Hospital campus now.
Okay.
I grew 248 and a half 18th Street, South 18th Street, in Columbus on the east side.
Okay.
From like 1991 to 1995 until my brother was old enough to pack up and move.
Gotcha.
And then we moved to Worthington, a suburb of Columbus, north of Clintonville.
North of Clintonville.
And then went back and forth between there, Delaware, and a suburb of Cleveland called Bedford Heights.
Bedford? Okay. So you haven't been here the whole time of your, like, adulthood?
Oh yeah, always permanent residence here.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I've never
spent summers in Cleveland and then
And like
went
a
to school in
parent of
Delaware.
divorce type situation?
No, my father was incarcerated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So who are you spending the summers with? Your grandmother or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
My mother.
Right on.
And yeah, my mom did a very good job raising two fine black men. It's great. He's not my brother. We have different last names.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not to say
I think
that.
everybody knew.
I'm your brother, though.
But yeah.
I gotta find out something to do. You guys hear me? You guys are nervous. I understand that, or maybe not. Just like you gotta just kind of lean in and give
I'm a little nervous.
it that sweet loving.
Myself.
Well, I want everybody to be able to hear you, Capri. Take your headphones off, and then just make sure you get close to the mic.
Okay, yeah, now I feel like I'm having a normal conversation. This is much better.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you feel comfortable. Capri, tell us about the clothing shop that you used to hang out a lot when you were a
Multiple.
rabble razzler.
A rabble.
A young
yes,
rabbler.
I used to loiter at our buddy Kareem used to own this. It
Kareem?
was strictly loitering.
His
Our
name's
buddy
Kareem?
Kareem Jackson.
Kareem Jackson.
Yeah, he's a boss. He's a real OG. I used to loiter at his shop, Milk Bar, for countless years.
So Milk Bar had that. Milk Bar was just a clothing store for what kind of clothing wear?
All kind of clothing wear, heritage wear, Japanese denim, weird shit. Towards the end, it got kind of wonky.
Whack.
Yeah.
When did it close?
I think they lost interest. Definitely a culture hub. Like used to
Like
pop
the wave came through there, and then you
Wave
grab
started there.
Okay.
More or less, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it used to be down here where Revolution Bikes is, I think.
Yeah.
And then it moved down to where Store 5A is now.
Okay.
But yeah, we used to post up, put the couch on the block, and
Just hang out.
kick it. Yeah.
Smoke cigars. I mean, at this time, Homage was coming around.
Yeah. This is like
Martin
first when
was on.
Homage was starting up.
I had a
It's like
very
2008,
similar
2009.
store in my childhood. It was called Heart and Soul, and it was
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Coventry
With Esso?
with Esso.
Esso's
Yeah,
the fucking
he was
man.
just actually in town,
Yeah.
and I missed him. Unfortunately, he went to Monarch, but I
Yeah.
had to work. But yeah, we
Esso
used to
was
hang out
one of my
there,
favorite DJs.
and we'd put the clothes like we'll be back in 5 minutes, and we'd go downstairs
Yeah.
and do illicit substances, and come back upstairs and
Sure.
just hang out and wait. All right. So what did you see in
And
the
Soul
Short
Classics.
North?
Soul Classics, obviously. I worked for Soul Classics for years. Soul Classics and Kings Row.
They're still here.
Soul Classics is still here, yes. So I was more or less an editor-in-chief of their website, Kings Row's website, and I worked at the store down here on North High
Nice.
for a little bit. But yeah, those dudes are like family. Kareem and Deontay, who is the owner of Soul Classics, are like, and my buddy Martin and my buddy Sean, obviously, are like my OGs, as people would say.
That was my next question. Kareem went on from Milk Bar to go to just Soul
He
Classics.
does. Well, no. Kareem does realty now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's out here swinging houses and shit.
Good for him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Flipping.
But he did the dream for a little bit.
did.
How old were
There
you
was
when you were
Patrick
running
and
around Milk
Larry.
Bar?
Oh yeah, obviously Patrick and Larry. There's countless people we can name, but
Before they demolished that building,
Which
Yeah.
building was that?
well, Brigade.
So
There's a Brigade in Cleveland.
A Brigade?
Brigade, yeah, in Cleveland. There
The
was
store?
one-
The clothing store?
Yeah, there was one in Columbus
Oh, okay.
for a few years, and then they knocked that whole building down.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
When did they?
That was a good time.
What year was all this happening?
When they knocked Brigade down?
No,
I
when you
was
were
young
hanging
and
out at
kicking
Milk
it?
Bar.
Young, dude, like 14, 15. I'm 23 now.
So that was like 2012, 11?
Yeah, 11,
11, 12?
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
Were you hanging out at Milk Bar with him?
No, I actually started hanging out at Milk Bar a little bit later. Me and Capri met
Monte Cristo.
At Monte Cristo.
The cigar shop?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was just like a summer day or something. I think I thought he was like 30 or
Yeah.
hanging
Yeah,
out,
you do not look
flipping his
22.
phone,
I look like shit, man.
just like
Being cool,
yeah,
smoking
being
a cigar.
cool.
I was smoking
Being fucking
cigs.
cool.
Smoking cigs with Wes. Wes had long hair.
Yeah, our buddy Wesley Fogger.
And that was almost 4 or 5 years ago.
It's like 5 years ago.
Yeah, this is when No Place was also
Mhm.
going in. Martin was there.
No Place Studios.
So
Yeah.
Milk Place Studios.
No Place
No
Studios.
Place.
No place.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're still
It's on
around.
the South Front.
Okay.
James
Right on.
is heading that, I believe.
So, as people who have been here for a while now and gotten to see,
But
continue.
oh no, I mean, I've been down here like around 2009, 2010, and I knew Kareem and Patrick through the cigar shop I worked in and ran out in Westerville.
You guys smoked a lot of cigars. That's just a thing.
I don't
Smoking
smoke
cigars.
I just got a job there as a college kid, and then
Okay.
ended up doing a lot more work for them. And that's how I met them. And we're just hanging out. I mean, it's rare to see other black people in an affluent part of town.
Yeah.
Which
That is
part of
just
town was
cigars.
that then? Westerville? Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, fucker.
Kinship.
What the fuck they up?
Kinship.
Yeah, you look
Strong
like me.
kinship.
You look like
so
me.
we
Let's go talk.
ended
And then
up
you guys became friends.
becoming friends. Yeah, really, really good friends, really close friends, family.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was great.
That's cool.
To meet all of these characters down here and move down here, and they've been very supportive and helpful and giving us great advice. I think as younger.
As younger people.
As the young ones in
Yeah.
the
You're
in the so-called
23,
chain, they definitely.
and then how old are you?
I'm 27.
You're 27.
Yeah.
And then how old are, I don't know, Patrick or
We'll say they're mid-30s.
We say plus 33.
Yeah.
33 plus?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't count after that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Plus one.
Because at that point, it just becomes a number. It doesn't really matter. What do you do right now, Ben?
Right now, I head education at One Line Coffee.
One Line Coffee in Capri.
I work an office gig at the Idea Foundry.
Office gig at the Idea
Yeah,
Foundry.
and,
Columbus
yeah.
Experience.
Yes, exactly. And I have a big job coming up soon that I can't
Disclose here on the
disclose it
podcast just quite yet.
disclose it yet, but it'll help
Yeah, right.
it'll help me feel like I'm doing something of more purpose around here, as far as like event planning goes, and whether we reach out to charities and stuff like that.
Throwing down.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
In your community.
Definitely.
So, what is that happening on here? You keep hearing that? Oh, well, you do.
I don't hear it.
I do.
It might be that. I don't know what's going on. I hate
Crossing.
this.
The listeners are gonna hate.
They're gonna hate a lot of this. Yeah, that's very quiet, very muted, very yeah. Because some people hop on here and they're just excited.
Yeah.
They don't stop.
Right. I think two people also kind of makes it kind of difficult.
Yeah, we just
I
don't know
wanna
how to.
talk over Ben or you or
Right.
you know.
It's a dynamic. We're figuring it out. We're only 12 minutes in. We got all the time
I'm
in the
also
world,
very sober.
which is a rarity.
Good.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
It's not a
bro.
rare thing. It's just
It's just a
annoying.
good. Yeah,
it's
it's
just I
annoying.
would be way more loose if I had
Well, when we take a break,
bit
we
of
can maybe
drink.
go fix that for a
I
second.
smoked big weed for this.
been stoned.
Yeah, see, I can't do this. I can't get to do the stoning and get on the podcast. It makes me nervous.
Yeah, I think I'd be.
Oh.
Unless I'm in like a big group. Unless I'm in like the two ago when I was with Miko and Niall, we got a little lubricated before and it worked out. But they're pretty goofy, so it helped. So you've seen waves move through here, right? And right now I've had basically almost some of the new wave on here in the last 30. In January, I did a 30-day thing where I interviewed a lot of people in town. And would it be safe to say that they're considered the new wave, maybe?
What's the new wave?
Yeah,
Like,
what do you-
what does that entail?
Well, so there was at one point Milk Bar, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and then there was, you guys painted it out a little bit. You were hanging out one place and you're hanging out another place, and now the people who are down here making those moves, the new people of the city, a little bit.
I can't say what is and what isn't the new wave because I'm not as well versed with a lot of the people down here that
You as well as you used to
that
be.
used to be. Yeah. Well, because it used to feel like I mean, it still feels like a family down here. Don't get me wrong, but it felt like it felt supernatural.
Yeah,
Even like 4
yeah.
or 5 years ago, it felt supernatural. It feels
This is still in the rising
extremely-
tide of social media too.
yeah.
So I think that also has a lot to do with it.
Social
I'm
media?
not one of the people. I think this is going to be maybe surprising for people out there. But I don't see social media as a bad thing necessarily. I think
No, I
if we look
love
at
it.
historically, we're constantly doing things that are sharing media.
Right.
I mean, TV, radio,
Reality TV.
letters.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all forms of communication. That's what we're doing.
I think the only thing that's changed is like the instant gratification of
Oh.
like instead of okay,
Crazy.
I got a letter from you. It took me 4 weeks to get the
Yeah,
letter,
yeah.
and then okay, so now it took 4 weeks. I'm gonna think about this letter for 3 days. I'm gonna write it. It's gonna take another month to get back to the person.
Right.
That is a lot, right? But now today I can
A lot
post a
of time to
picture.
confuse, yeah.
A lot of time to really think and like pause,
Mm-hmm.
wait, make a nice sentence, write another nice sentence, go get a coffee, go plow a field, go do whatever you have to do, and then come back. But no, I like social media. I think it's a good platform and a good tool.
Yeah, when it's used correctly, I guess it really is just subjective because you can use it however you want.
Exactly.
But some people are definitely on some
They're wild.
on some wild shit.
I would still like to get back to the wave thing because I'm still a little confused as to what exactly.
The question was,
Yeah.
I guess the question I'm asking is that every like I don't know, there's a cycle, right, of people who come in and do stuff,
Okay.
right?
Sure. Yeah.
do
Is that-
stuff like
Do stuff like throw another party. So there's been people throwing parties in Columbus for as long as Columbus has been
Right.
around.
That's
Right.
that's such a small
right. So if
Sect
that's the
of it,
case,
right? But
that's
then
such a
also,
small
though,
really even a
part of the
wave,
community,
really.
though.
It's just
It is a small part of the community, but then there's also the people who open the new businesses to hang out at.
Sure.
There's the people who come in and bring, bougie boutiques.
Right.
From Milk Bar to Bougie Boutique.
There's also people that are just living down here.
And there's
They
also
just
people who just are sitting in
going
here and
about
just,
their day.
but
Yeah.
they're also watching as the
Right.
times go by and how, oh, well, I remember that used to be this, and then that used to be that, and now it's this. So now
Yeah.
it's a new color.
So you're trying
It's a new
to
wave.
describe kind of not what you mean by wave is culture.
Present day
There's a new
Present day Columbus.
culture in Columbus.
I would say.
I would
Different
say,
kind of-
I
But
would
also-
say definitely there's a new culture in Columbus.
Yeah. I
See,
would
these
say
are the
that.
questions I want to ask you guys because I have been here for 3 years,
Right.
and I have had my parents on who lived here in the 80s,
Right.
and they talked about it a little bit. I had Corso on who talked about it, not Corso, Swanson, who talked about it in the 90s and the early
Swanson
2000s. Yeah,
That's cool.
it was cool. He did drop some cool little bombs about like how downtown used to be like clubs and how he had to
Yeah,
go pass
yeah.
out flyers and all this
Sugar.
shit.
Running.
Wall Street.
Sugar, Wall Street, Red Door.
Had a team that used to run them.
We're bringing street teams back.
Street teams.
By the way.
Street teams are cool. Guerrilla marketing, all that
Dude,
shit.
that shit's-
Slide a flyer under a campus door. I used to have to do that when I was at Cleveland State. I used to do that for
shit's
parties.
tight.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's just
It's a
super
good
fun.
fight.
It's a goofy way to run around and
Yeah.
spread a message.
Hell yeah.
So that's what we're leading up to now. Is that there's new people in town, and since you guys have been here for the longest, I was just seeing your opinion on the new people in town,
I
the
will
new
say-
look of the short north.
I will say I am by no means a historian. Like I'm not like
No, but you're the closest thing I got right now.
sure, but like I'm not. I'm also 23 years old and I don't know shit. So I don't want people to think like I'm on here like
Right. Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like
you're the end all be all.
yeah, like I know like I'm the
Definitive.
tastemaker or like I know what should be or shouldn't be down here because I don't.
Well, that's
But
not really. I'm not asking what should or should not be. I'm just
I
asking.
know you're
like,
not, but some people kind of get that notion.
Impression?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think
Well,
is kind of
set them straight. You got them right now.
Fuck 'em.
You got 30 of them listening. Let's go. Yeah, fuck them. Just forget them.
No, it's not like that. It's just I get a weird rep sometimes.
All right. So
From
what do you
people that
think?
don't really know me, but
Let's change the question a little. Unless you have an answer, Ben, or unless you have an opinion.
Ben got all the answers.
Oh, far from that. I definitely do not. No, go ahead and ask your question.
Well, okay. I guess I'll ask another one. So we brought up social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about the bagel shop. You want to talk about the bagel shop
Sure.
and how that was
Yeah.
a positive use of social media,
Yeah, definitely.
right? So that was cool.
Great use of social media.
I'd say a great use of social media just as an ability to start a conversation instead of having to like go into Times Square, which there isn't one, but you know what I'm saying, Town Square, and like
Right. I think that's exactly what social media does is
Mm-hmm.
create a time like a town square.
Right.
I think that's a great
For
analogy.
sure.
thank you.
Um,
So yeah, talk about your experience with that because they've contacted you now twice almost about it, right?
Yeah, and we actually are going to have a meeting on Tuesday about their policy. at
Which
their
I
store.
think on their front, excellent move. Like how they handled the problem, I think they did a very good job PR wise. We'll see how it keeps
yeah,
going.
they took my advice. It's very good. Very good.
So what was the advice that you gave?
You guys should release a statement saying exactly why
You have a cash on.
policy instead
Yeah.
of just assuming that people were going to be okay with it.
Right.
And that was the first suggestion, not even my second most important, which is you should reverse your policy.
And just take cash.
Yeah.
So I think where they fucked up was saying it was for safety reasons.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
That was
in a
very strange.
gentrified neighborhood already.
That was
whack.
very strange. And I don't know, and whether or not it was for safety reasons, I've worked at a lot of restaurants and a lot of cash businesses where cash is a pain in the ass. So just say, hey, it's 2019, we're not doing cash anymore.
Right.
No questions.
Probably.
That's your
I mean,
business.
I'm not gonna go to that place.
Push the issue.
Yeah.
However, yeah, I think transparency about your decisions, and you want to use the guise of small business, as in we understand that small businesses care about their communities, right? That is
The idea of a small
what they
business.
would like us to think.
Believe,
correct?
right.
And I'm okay with that if your actions,
Yeah.
Agree with
also align with that.
Yeah, you're looking
Right.
kind of funny in the light if you
Yeah.
if you're
The
not
fort- I
taking
think-
cash in a super
gentrified area.
yeah.
But okay, so for example, my buddy works at a bar in DC. They're brand new. They just opened in like 2018, like 6 months ago. They don't take cash.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not far fetched.
No, it's not that
happening.
crazy.
It's a thing that's happening.
It's a
There's
thing that's
huge
happening.
pushback in New York City about it.
Right, because a lot of people
And I think
go
a
around with
lot
cash.
needs to be taken into consideration about when you instantiate a policy like this. As in, you have to know where you're at. You're in Dublin, say, in that community, it probably is perfectly fine.
Everybody's got direct deposit coming in, and it's not
Yeah, I
a
mean,
question
have
of
to
whether or
look
not
at
you have
the
a card.
income, the income equality and spread and opportunity of that community to understand maybe what is good and what is bad for it.
Right.
Or even as much, hey, maybe I should just ask the people who are here
What they think.
what they think about a policy that, at an individual level, is not that harmful. It is more so to stop the trend. The trend it being cashless stores throughout the short north, throughout downtown, because then we are creating further disparity. We're creating further inequality of opportunity.
Right.
As in, we're taking away a choice for people who don't even know that it's being taken away from them.
Okay,
The
I
people
like that.
I have a bank account. This does not affect me at all.
No, I have direct
Listen,
deposit. I wake
right,
up, the money's
so-
in my account. I can
so-
just get a bagel.
I'm trying to think outside of myself, and I know that maybe if I were a person who didn't have a bank account, and believe me, this happens. Have you ever been to Kroger on a Friday?
Yeah,
You ever been to Walmart on a Friday?
You've
It's
been
nuts.
to Walmart, Kroger on
They're
the first.
cashing checks.
they're
They
cashing
don't
checks,
have-
and they're
yeah.
taking a big loss on the check.
They are
to get the cash
which is
up front.
another thing
Massive loss.
that inequality is proven to show is
Convenience.
increase of anxiety, which stops your prefrontal cortex from making better sound decisions
Educated
in
decisions, yeah.
the future. As in, you are betting against your future, and you know it.
To
but
just
you
get a
can't do it
quick.
because you have to. You're being pressed.
You got to get that
stressed
quick
out.
fix. Yeah, your
Yeah.
bills are late. You can't wait 4 days for the check to flip
so
over.
If we allow this one policy to go through and it becomes a trend, then we are ostracizing the community that has already been here in Columbus further.
Okay.
And they won't even know it.
No,
They
because they're
won't
not
even know
asking
it.
the question. They're just thinking, oh, there's another shop that I couldn't go into anyway. And I guess the argument, and it's a closed-minded and small argument, and you've already displaced it, but like, should somebody who doesn't necessarily have, should people be buying
Food,
$8?
a $2 bagel?
It's an $8.
Certainly.
It's like an $8 bagel.
Not the plain bagel. We're talking about basic stuff.
It's an $8 bagel.
I mean, dude, I've never walked out of there with for less than $16.
Fuck out of here.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
That's wild.
It's expensive. It's very
Fair shot.
tasty. It's
also
very
pricey.
good, but
Fair
it's
shot, but
expensive
it's
shit.
food. It's a good. It's a
Sure.
quick and easy good.
Sure.
And yes,
It
if
is
that
quick and
person
easy.
particularly wanted to spend that much
By
that
all
day,
means.
Then
and
they
had
should be
cash
able
to
to-
do so.
Right.
They should be able to do so.
I agree.
And I get it. Honestly, it is a great move, most likely for businesses. However, you have to take into account the community that you're serving.
Right.
Because the community is what's going to end up servicing you back, right?
Right.
100%.
Right.
Well, they're thinking of the community as the part of the community that's kind of been moved away, ostracized, a blanket thrown over them, pushed into the corner. We're just going to keep moving forward and kind of just leave you guys in the
That's
corner.
the problem.
That
That's
is the
the
problem.
with most decisions
Right.
is they bite the bullet.
They think about the 75% instead of the whole 100. they're thinking about that girl who comes down here who wants to take the picture in her Uggs in the, you know what I mean? Or the guy in their Uggs.
I don't.
You don't know their target market. You don't know their target market.
Oh, I think their target market might be exactly what Fox came to the realization of, and it seems like they figured out their market is actually the people in New Albany and Dublin. Why have them drive all the way down here? Because they thought their target market was one thing, and it changed. And
When you say Fox or Locks.
Fox in the Snow.
Okay.
They thought, we would be their target market, and some of us are. But it turns out the people who spend the most money there are, one, people who have more money.
Right.
And secondly, they are coming from the suburbs. So why open up another store here when you could just open up a store there? And that's exactly what they did, and they're crushing it.
Right.
That's good for them. They went to a place that has a need and a want, and it's shown through
And they
their
fit in
analytics.
there instead of going to the cool
Instead
neighborhood
of
where they
going
think
to
they could
another
start.
neighborhood that has cheap property value, that they can have an easy build out.
Right.
Or
Like Old
have
Town-
a
like
more
Old
expansive
Town
build
East-
out
Old
because
Town
you
East
are
German
saving
Village
money
area.
on your retail.
The rent and where are they now? In Dublin? Where's the
New
new Fox?
Albany.
New Albany?
There's
Yeah,
one
the
in-
rent there's
in
probably got to be
German
pretty
Village,
high.
right?
There is one in German Village.
Yeah.
And they're doing well too.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I don't know why people love it there so much, but they really do.
What German Village or just?
No, Fox and the Stone.
Yeah.
It's good.
Make
I
very
mean, the baked goods.
I don't drink.
It's all the
Very nice.
pastries.
Yeah.
You don't drink coffee?
I don't know.
That must be nice.
I don't know.
I'm
It
just
makes
addicted.
me sweat and it makes me
I drink a lot of
very
decaf.
anxious.
That's an interesting move too. A lot of decaf. I mean, I take it at night sometimes because I just want like the flavor.
Oh yeah, I just don't like it. Caffeine affects the way I sleep, so
Fox,
decaf is
bad.
very good.
Yeah, I've had
That's
a
why
couple bad
Work
nights of
very
sleep.
hard, makes
Makes my,
decaf very tasty
makes my
for
kidneys
all the
hurt.
people who can't have caffeine.
That's nice. That's that part of that education part of One Line.
Yeah.
Ben is a great barista, by the way.
Thank
I'd
you.
assume.
That's very kind of you. I'm very good at making milk squiggles.
And making what?
Milk squiggles.
Milk
He makes me a-
squiggles.
He makes
Yeah.
me a fine
Latte.
chocolate milk, hot chocolate. Well, I don't drink milk anymore.
That's also a good one.
Nice, nice.
No dairy. For the
Um,
most part.
So the part of Columbus that's been thrown under a blanket and pushed to the corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys? What do you think's the main driving force of that? The parking, the up rent, all of it. What is it?
Driving force of no.
And how long do you
East
think
of
it's been going
production.
on? Because in the 80s, which I've been told, this was the red light district. This is the area you don't come down. This is where you buy drugs and buy a hooker
Right.
and get a hotel room for the hour.
Big facts.
Big
My pops
right.
is down here quite a bit.
Very
When he
wild
was
in
in
the
the
streets. Not that long ago.
Not that long ago,
Not that
right?
long ago.
40 years.
Less than that.
Less than that.
Way
I mean,
less than that.
People still wouldn't come down to Short North. I would say
Oh yeah.
close to like 01.
I got homegirls from high school that are like, "Is my car okay out here?" I'm like, "We are fine."
Yeah, now it's different now. Yeah, it's
are
changed. But there, I mean, honestly, up until 2 summers ago, when I was working at Standard Hall, people got, I think, like 8 or 9 of the staff got robbed at
When was
like
this?
at Standard Hall like 2 summers ago.
That's
Yeah,
wild.
man.
Well, they were just, it's
I mean,
easy
today's
target.
sweet.
You leave from the alley, and it's an easy target. There's no
Right.
lighting. Anybody could be back there.
Right.
And
Happens a lot in gentrified neighborhoods. Look at Cincinnati. It's their big problem right now.
what is crime? Like just robbery?
Yeah. Well, they have like block by block.
Block
gentrification.
by block.
It's wild.
Like it's
One block is, one
It's
block's
very-
not.
yeah.
and
it's
each
very
block
wild.
is insane.
That's interesting. I've never been to Cincinnati.
It's tight.
Is it?
Very tight.
Yeah, each block, the the differing
Uh,
blocks
it
is
is
cool.
crazy.
Yeah, it's like one part looks like Brooklyn, the other part looks like San Fran. It's very wild. Like
Like,
our
our-
movies are shot there.
I bet it's a cheap
Wrath,
place to shoot a
starring
movie.
John Travolta was shot there.
Horrible movie.
Fucking atrocious.
Horrible.
What movie?
Wrath.
Wrath with Johnny
Fucking
Travolta.
terrible. Yeah. His hairline has come back, and it has come back in a strong way.
Yeah, well that's
Better talk to LeBron.
that's a little bit of a yeah exactly. You have a little bit of money, you can do it
LeBron's
however
came
you want.
back kind of.
I mean, you got money. I mean,
Well, some-
Magic Johnson.
some
He ain't got
bullshit.
diabetes. Wait, he got
AIDS.
AIDS.
Diabetes.
Oh
It's funny.
shit! We're not joking about AIDS, by the way. But
No, we are not. Absolutely not. It's fucking terrible.
It's not funny. There's an AIDS problem. There's a big AIDS problem in Columbus that nobody talks about.
yeah, my cousin passed away 6 years ago from
AIDS.
AIDS complications. Yeah,
Damn. That's sad.
awful. It was very sad.
Yeah, we're like the second most friendly gay community in the United States, or the third, I think, and
Yeah,
nobody
Who's
talks
first?
about it. San Francisco, still
obviously.
hold
Who's-
strong.
I'd like to know who's third.
We can Google it on our little intermission.
Iowa.
Maybe.
I hope it's Nebraska.
I think Michigan, all these random flyover states and like flyover towns have like the biggest different populations.
Yeah, what? I wouldn't consider Michigan a flyover state.
Michigan is totally a flyover state.
Well, you only think that because you're in Ohio and they paid millions of dollars for that ad campaign of like travel to Michigan. But no, nobody's traveling to Michigan. They're still broke.
Dude,
Detroit's tight.
I've never been. Also,
I've never been, but Detroit's tight.
It's a lawless
same here.
town. That's another.
I like
whole
that.
other story, dude.
Okay,
they ain't got roads, man. You don't talk about infrastructure.
So let's run back to infrastructure. I'm trying to keep it Columbus centric. I've never been to Detroit, so I can't talk on it. I hope to go soon. It'd be crazy to go to a place that's like
a lot of history. It has the largest number of abandoned and I guess non-safe buildings.
So Columbus has. Do you know Columbus has the second highest? Thanks, Kapri. Has the second highest eviction rate of any other city next to New York.
I believe that.
Yeah, because you don't have to go to court. The landlord doesn't have to go to court to like finish the subpoena. I guess it's not a subpoena, but they don't have to go to court to deal with it. Mm-hmm. They can just write your eviction notice and you're out.
Yeah, when I was a youngster, we got evicted like 3 or 4 times, I think.
Just all over. Yeah, and you just have to move.
Single parent family, so.
Right. It's hard, and it's also because I think what happens is that like North Step Realty owns a lot of the fucking housing, and then another place like Buckeye Realty or all these places, they just own like these conglomerates.
Right.
And I think that's probably an issue that the city faces, is that like there's some people who just own a lot of the city.
Yeah, I personally think that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even as far as
what do you do to
like restaurant monopolies and shit like that.
Yeah.
I think even like the bars down here, I think that
that is an issue. Corso, like if you're Chris Corso.
A lot of reiterations.
Right. So
Chris Corso is my landlord, by the way.
Is he really?
Shout out to Chris Corso.
So he owns Standard Hall, Food Hall, Pine House, Forno, and they're about to open a new space in between Food Hall and Standard Hall. So you got
where?
Right in between it. There's those
I mean, fair shot though, because like
But
no one else is gonna.
Swanson's place is about to open soon, which I don't even know if we're allowed to disclose that. But
No, you are. He talked about it.
Okay.
No, they're not. So they built a tunnel under Food Hall and Standard Hall, so they can get next to each other, and then they're opening a speakeasy in between.
Dude, what is up with all the speakeasies?
Where?
That's the worst
Where is
part.
it?
I think that's the worst trend that's happened in the 2018 area in
I don't
Columbus.
think so.
I know for a fact. It's facts. Big
I know,
facts.
but my personal opinion, I don't think.
Oh, you don't think speakeasy is a problem?
I don't have an issue with speakeasies. No.
It's not
I'd rather
really a speakeasy.
Well, obviously, of course, it's not. But I'd rather more bars than the same.
Right. Yeah.
3 bars that everyone goes to.
Right. Where do you go, man? I don't see you out on the streets very late at night.
Yeah.
You don't go
I
out?
generally go to bed at like 9:30, 10:30.
Look at you.
But when I do, I
How
go
adult.
to I'll go to Bottle Shop, which is on the south side of campus.
Yeah, King.
Yeah, King. I also don't really drink a lot, so I generally only have like 1 glass or 1 beer.
So
One drink.
that's an interesting thing, drinking a lot, because that seems to be the thing to do in Columbus, is to drink, at least for a nightlife perspective. And I'm sure there's other things to do,
Yeah.
like go to bed at
Columbus
9:30.
has got an incredible jazz scene.
Big
It
facts.
does.
So, to touch on your Instagram real quick, is it tiring recording a whole show? You retired almost the entire show on Wednesday at Brother Strike. It seemed like, bro,
Yeah,
it was
tight.
30.
It was a very good show. They were putting it on for.
It was almost a 30-minute story, bro.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was cool, and they
They
would dress the part too.
interpretation of Kendrick Lamar.
Ooh. What songs?
It was excerpts from Section 80.
Ooh. Nice. Blow my eye.
It was very good.
Rigor Mortis.
Great songs. That's a great album.
That
a
is.
great album.
That's his album that popped.
Phenomenal album.
That's the album that kind of put him on the scene.
Rigor Mortis was
He had
wild.
7 mixtapes before that are
That is
all
a sample
locked
of
away
The
What
Thorn.
is that?
in the vault.
The song The Thorn. It's very good.
Is it?
So Columbus has got a good jazz scene. When do you think? So again, 2009. Was it always bars and drinking down here?
No.
Oh, Park Street. That's non-existent anymore, but that was popping off around.
That used to be the move.
Cantina used to slap. They used to
I
feed
never-
people, and oh yeah, this was like, yeah. It was
Well, you probably couldn't drink
I was
yet.
in fucking probably high school.
Yeah, you
I mean,
couldn't drink
totally
yet,
high
really.
school, yeah.
So
When you were in high school, though, the continent was just...
The continent on the north
Yeah,
side.
dude, the
The
continent.
continent's wild.
Yeah.
The continent.
That's
The
where my
continent is like fucking Marcy Projects, yeah.
Yeah.
now it
shit's
is,
wild.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
That's where
it's-
my dad lived. He lived at the Continent, and he managed the
yeah,
Funny
it's
Bone,
huge.
and it was like super gentrified, super fancy,
Yeah.
super nice.
Yeah.
And then just all the like he moved, and then it just went down, and now you can get a motel room by like the
Yeah,
hour.
in fact, that whole entire... I mean, that's where people are getting pushed. Those people used to most likely be down
In
here.
here, right?
Now they're inhabiting, south of Westerville, Linden area.
So if you guys, do you guys still like hanging out in the Shore North? I know Capri does.
Yeah, I mean, I live down here. I live a block away from where we're recording right now.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm down here all the time.
Yeah, I
am
work down here.
totally moving away from here.
Where would you
Within the
move?
I'm going to move back to Grandview, I think.
Back to Grandview?
Yeah.
That's pretty.
It's quiet.
It's pretty. It is quiet, but it's
So quiet.
very gentrified.
Yeah.
But you don't have a problem with that.
I have a problem with being safe now.
Interesting.
I'm not saying that areas of the city that are not gentrified are not
safe.
safe.
But you're not running over to Franklinton. You're not running over to
I do want
Old
to
Town
move.
East.
I don't have a car though. If I had a car, I probably would pop over to Franklinton.
Maybe we
I'm
should
also extremely.
better
I'm also.
public transit.
We'll get on that. I'm also an extremely paranoid person.
Okay.
So just being around anything that could,
Yeah. Could go wrong, and
Yeah.
it might.
Makes
So
you
you
paranoid.
just rather be in a. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of variables.
I got you.
I don't like variables.
Where do you live?
I live at a kind of a community spot called the Milo Arts Center.
I used to go there quite a bit. My ex-girlfriend, she doesn't live there anymore. She lives in New York now, but she used to live there.
Oh, nice.
So I was there quite a bit. Yeah, that's a cool spot.
Place is tight.
It's
Yeah, it's been there for quite some time.
Rich,
Rick Man.
Rick Man. He is
Fought Rogue, the man that fought Rogue.
he is a cool dude. He's definitely he has some shit to say. If you catch him on like
Oh,
a
yeah,
catch him on a
dude.
moment, he can really take it
Have on
take
here
it
is
away.
Blow your mind.
Yeah,
man.
that sounds
He's
right.
wild.
Yeah, talk about somebody who'd be a historian for like the city. He's wild.
Yeah.
That's as close to like a commune as you can kind of get in Columbus, maybe.
That's a fucking commune.
It's not a commune.
Is
In
it a
fact, we
compound?
just had like a meeting about how someone thought it was a commune. It moved in, and they were disappointed that it wasn't. Yeah, it's
That's
live
hilarious.
and workspace. I mean, some people live there. Some people just do their
Studio space, yeah.
studio work there. That's pretty cool. You have people in from the community there all the time.
Yeah, it's an old it's not demolished, but it's an old school building. It's
Yeah.
an old high school.
Yeah.
And then everybody's rooms is an old classroom. So you have a lot of space.
Yeah.
Huge space. A lot of mirrors on the walls.
Some are very small. Just depends. They're all based off of different time periods. So there's like
I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's cool.
That is cool. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
it's very interesting.
And that is on
There's something
That's
very
off
cool
of
about the Milo Grogan area too. They have a board that meets with all the new businesses that want to open up there, and they have to go before the board before they can instantiate a business and be approved by the community.
yeah. Which is kind of what you have to do to get into Milo. You have to have
Yeah.
get
You do have to
interviewed and have a meeting with everybody who lives there and see if you're a good fit.
Yeah.
Do you think that kind of community selectiveness is a thing that maybe the Short North or maybe Columbus as a whole is missing?
No.
I think we
Not
already do
necessarily.
that
To a degree?
Like in microcosms, microclimates and stuff. within
For
the
example, that area like Milo and Franklinton, maybe to a degree.
city. Yeah.
But Franklinton's already like there's some nice condos going in real quick.
Oh, it's a wrap, and it happens generally. Generally, those who are gentrifying an area are artists first.
Yeah,
Most
They-
seeking, in
cheap income,
Yeah.
so they can focus on their art. Not
Yeah.
cheap income, cheap
living, yeah.
cheap living costs, and then they can do that, and then they make
and
it
then
book
it follows that all the hip young people also want to hang out with the artist and know
Yeah,
the
that's me.
artist, and then
That's
the
me,
people
baby.
behind them want to come in and
hang out with their
take
kids.
over real estate, and they want to do what
Happens.
they see. They want to reiterate what they're seeing.
Yeah,
That's what
Williamsburg.
we're
That's
talking
it,
about.
over and over again.
Right.
See, I think there's an marketing and branding has, I think, changed how people interact with one another quite a bit. As in, people are on brand all the time or trying to sell you something.
Do you think you have
I'm not with
do you have a brand that you're trying to push?
No, I make no money, man. I don't have a brand. I mean, if the brand was anything, it was for people to start thinking for themselves and look out for your brother.
That's a brand unto itself.
I guess.
What's that, Bean? You good, bro?
I
You
think
don't
a
have to be
brand
sneaky.
would necessitate some sort of thing that you are
Profiting from?
profiting from.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that a brand at all, actually.
I mean, if it is,
What?
I mean,
Well, what
a
do you-
rising tide carries all boats, right?
Sure.
Christ.
So,
I like that.
Jesus.
Yeah, Capri's like, damn, he just hit it with a hard quote. But when it, so you're saying social media, right, and branding go hand in hand, but also social media as a community go hand in hand. So wouldn't you say that like the Ben and the Kapri brand is kind of what brought people to my attention to maybe not only just have you guys on, but also is what instilled maybe pre-existing thoughts in their heads before we even got the chance to sit down and talk?
Yeah, possibly. But people that actually know us know that we are not like.
Oh, I'm wild.
Yeah, this nigga's wild.
Yeah, you're sharing whatever the fuck you want on your social media, which is great. You're not worried about offending anybody and whoever sticks around to listen.
Well,
Which
offense
is the
comes
beauty
from
of it.
power, in my opinion. As in, the people in power are the ones who get to decide what is offensive.
And what isn't.
Yeah.
I like that. So,
And generally, it doesn't go along with what they already think.
do you think it's the people who are in power who think it's offensive, or do you think it's like
It doesn't matter if it's offensive or not, but that's
They
not the
decide
point.
it.
They decide it.
right? Do you think that? I'm trying to think of somebody how.
I don't even necessarily find your Instagram offensive.
Yeah.
No, it's just
I would not consider it
Maybe
offensive.
it's what's the word?
opinionated.
Provoking. Is it provoking?
It's thought provoking.
Thought provoking.
Good.
I think
It
that's
should
good.
be, yeah.
Yeah, you
It
should
ought to be.
challenge people through thought,
Yeah.
conversation, community building. You challenge the store, and now there's an actual conversation going on, and so let's bring it back to like, is there a Ben brand, right? Or like, is there a branding that everybody has to do with social media for them own selves, right? So like, I have one. I'm not making any money, but I want people to listen to this. I have something to drive people towards, and I do that by making long-winded, stupid Instagram stories, by being a goofball, by making them want to come on and listen, so I can say something that might last, right? So like on Instagram, it's only for the 60 seconds, only for the day that it's on there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I can't get away with the fact that, is the brand something different than yourself?
I tried not to have it not be, no.
Well, then I don't think it's a brand.
Yeah, I don't.
You think it's just authentic?
I think it's just you.
Yeah,
doing
I'm
whatever
just
you
being
wanna do on the
myself.
internet. Yeah.
I don't think there's not,
I think once you start getting into the
agenda.
mindset of trying to make your Instagram your
There
own
you
personal
go.
brand, I think that's fucking weird, personally.
You think that's fucking weird?
and I
I think
think
that's weird. Yeah, I do.
quite a bit of people, not just in Columbus, just people in general, it makes it very easy to slip into that
Right.
based on the immediacy and frequency of social media. And that's very hard because then you start to internalize it, and then before you know it, you are an iteration of yourself. You're just your brand, and you're not you
Right.
anymore. And that makes it very hard to navigate real relationships.
Right.
Because you don't know whether to respond how you actually feel
Or how your
you
Instagram
ought
would
to.
respond.
Right. Yeah. Is this like a business proposition, or is this like my buddy just
Right.
asking a normal
Yeah,
question?
exactly. 100%. And
When you say a business proposition, what would you necessarily mean? Like you trying to buy
No,
somebody
just like,
trying to hawk you a shirt?
anything, like
marketing,
Yeah.
or just, like, people are trying to, it seems like people are trying to get something from you.
It's attention. I think that's what
I think
everybody's
it's
trait.
much more than attention. I think it's
I
your,
think it's
I think
I
it's
get
your
it beyond that.
likeness. I think it's your attention. I think it's your money. I think it's your ideas. I think
Social
it's a lot of
currency,
things.
I don't know. Yeah.
Social currency. Okay, social currency.
Social currency.
Clout.
Is that what clout is? Social currency.
Yeah,
Well,
I
clout
guess by another.
By another definition, clout is technically something that is not meant to last. It's something that is in turn, like, I don't know if ephemeral is the right
Yeah.
word, but like it doesn't exist. It's temporary.
Okay.
It's not etched into the time of stone,
Sure.
right? So like a party, chop chop bash, clout alone.
Well, not if they keep it going.
I don't know if but
Should
the night
they?
alone,
I thought it was fun.
I had a good time.
Yeah, but
I was fucked
that
up, though.
the reason
Yes,
you
I
thought it
was.
was fun is because it was happening for one night only. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I think
I
there's
mean, if you
I
know
think
that
there's
it's
a
going to-
romance to that too.
If you know
Yeah.
that there's going to be a
Consistent thing.
reoccurrence,
For example-
I mean, it kind of dulls it out, as in like,
Definitely.
oh, I can definitely catch the next
Yeah,
one.
for sure.
Ben, I don't know if you were there, but Capri was there.
It was.
At the at the PBR event that happened at the not the lounge. It was
Yeah,
supposed
dude.
to. It was
Oh, the clubhouse.
the clubhouse.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
the first night I took
We were
acid,
working-
actually,
we were
and I
working
was
that night.
there. And
That
I
was
left immediately because
so
I thought
much
it was
fun.
so weird.
I thought it was so
Yeah,
weird.
but that was like one of your first times on acid, though.
Yeah, it was my first time, but I was like, damn.
You'd love it.
Do you know what's crazy though about that event? Is that this was the first time I've ever been to an event in Columbus where it was everybody's first time in a room. Everybody was there for the first time only and ever, and then it was the last one that they're ever allowed to do. Like that will never happen again.
That's what
I think that's good.
That's
So
what
the
we're
romance,
So
the
curated
romance to
it
that,
seemed creepy.
it was so curated that it seemed fictional.
Yeah, I walked in
I
and
was
I was like,
freaking out,
man,
and I
there's
was-
absolutely no way someone orchestrated this. This is ridiculous.
This is goofy almost.
It is
I loved
so
it. You guys
goofy.
didn't like it?
I thought it, well, he was again.
I
though,
was scared.
you can just say
but-
whatever you need to say. Okay, cut it. You want to take a breather?
No.
Okay. Yeah. What the fuck? I don't know what you want from me. You gotta just
Oh,
speak. I
man.
can cut things out too. I can chop it up.
bet.
But again, I
I'm
was
gonna be working
tripping,
for PBR,
tripping
like,
balls.
I know
so-
that. I know
okay,
that.
Cool.
I love that.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Well, you also said that's what we're going for.
To communicate with people because you can see, you can kind of feel other people's anxiety, and you're not sure what kind of anxiety they're dealing with, like if it's generational like trauma, or if it's just they're having a rough day.
Right.
You don't know where they're at in that spectrum, but after you become aware of it, you understand that they might not be able to make a decision that is good for them
Exactly.
in futurity, because of the anxiety that's being induced.
When you say in future, you mean future. They don't have the ability to think about logically about
As
2
in,
weeks
like,
in advance
there's
due to the
tests
anxiety
where
that they feel.
You could tell someone, hey, you can have a donut in 3 minutes. All you have to do is wait 3 minutes. Or you could wait 7 minutes and get 2 donuts. And,
No, they'll have the donut now.
right, under anxiety, the numbers are astounding
Taking that donut.
who take the donut instead of
Yeah.
doubling, like on a scale,
I believe that.
exponentially.
Yeah.
They will bet against their own hand
To be able to just
for the
have.
immediacy of hopefully maybe coping with anxiety.
Yeah.
And when you do that over time, it's shown that there is chronic wear on your
Prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, your synapses and your prefrontal cortex, where you become what we're talking about is depressed. You have depression, as in the rules of the game that you knew that you were following stop working, or the rules change, and you don't know what the new rule is. Perfect experiment is when you have someone and you're told, press this button 10 times and you won't get shocked. Works for like the first 3 rounds. Then they switch the rule. You don't know what the rule is. What happens is anxiety is induced.
You press it 10 times.
You press it 10 times and it doesn't work, and you get shocked. And you press it again and you get shocked.
And you do it 10 times again because you don't.
Well, then you start going sporadically, as in like 12 times, 11 times, 7 times, 6 times, 3 times. And then this is when you start to get incredibly stressed out. And over time, if the system is berating someone, you become depressed and you stop pressing the button altogether, but you still get shocked.
You've given up even trying.
Given up trying.
You just have to sit there.
That is essentially the same kind of stress that's being induced through income inequality, and not even factual inequality, as in just the perception of inequality does that to people.
Right.
As in, I'm present in abundance, but I have none. Just that realization does that to people. Do you know anything about predatory lending in Black communities?
Yeah, where they'll give, and yeah, they give a.
So imagine you're a Black person who's constantly being berated by a system that's designed against you.
Yeah.
And you're constantly under stress and anxiety about how to deal with your whatever it is you got to deal with because you're not making enough.
Right.
And predatory lending comes through. Payday loans.
Payday loans where you'll
betting
get
against your future.
right. You'll get $100 check on Friday, and you need it right now because you're thought of
Exactly.
the fact that you
cannot
can't.
do anything. You're stuck.
And so
the
they take
rules of the game
25%.
Don't ever change.
They take 25%.
And a lot of these people never have to worry about that. I've gotten stuck in that before. I've done it before.
I've had a cash
Yeah.
checks at the
I've had
one
to
right
do
over
it.
there a bunch of times
There were times
because
where
I was
my
overdrawn.
insufficient funds were too high, and I had to cash a check. I was like, I can't even
Yeah.
do my bank account right now. I can't even do this right now.
Right.
No way.
Right.
And this goes back to our original thing: is this idea of inequality in income,
Right.
in economics. Just the idea is bad for people. And so a policy like cash free, where we're creating a further disparity, a further dichotomy between people,
Yeah.
is the bad idea for a community that doesn't need it. It is not a rule that
It's
needs
not
to be in-
necessary, yeah.
It is not necessary.
And by making something that's not necessary present, it creates further disconnect between
Yes.
those two ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is incredibly harmful if it were to become a trend.
On
For a city that's burgeoning, by the way, as in this city has the capacity to be unbelievable.
yeah,
One, the people who reside in the city and who are part of the community just need to realize that their voice matters and that they can do something about it if they so choose.
yeah.
And we have a responsibility, I think, or a duty rather, to put forth policies that are good for the people that might not be us. Generally, the common denominator between all of these things is we are deducing it to how we feel and how it affects us.
Yeah, they're not thinking
I was
logically
told the
about the
only
whole
reason-
situation.
The only reason you should look at your bowl and then your brother's is to see if he has enough.
Right. Which is polite. This
You
is
say-
the polite way of
Right?
thinking.
But do you really understand what I'm saying?
I do, because it becomes, don't worry about, the abundance is there for everybody. So make sure everybody has, there's
Enough.
enough for everybody to have
There's
enough to eat.
go around.
There's enough pie for everybody.
Way more than enough to go around.
Way more than enough. And the problem is we get caught up in our own narratives,
And greediness.
caught up in our brands, and we stop thinking about real people
And we
and
stop thinking about
ourselves,
community.
and we stop thinking about community, even though we use it as a tool for these
sell our
things
shit.
to sell our shit
Right.
that nobody asked for,
That nobody needs.
that nobody needs,
You don't need another shirt. So let's go.
and that's whack.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hit you right here
The
with your
jig
coffee shop.
is up.
How much is
Coming
a,
for that shit.
how much is a cup of coffee at One Line Coffee?
$2.
$2.
Right now we have a $2 cup of coffee.
Yeah. And then it
Reason
goes
why?
up to how much? $4 at the most, right?
No,
$4.50.
No, we have like $10 cups of coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
This cup of coffee, medium cup of coffee, $1,
Mhm.
$1.09
Right.
with tax. Does anybody need a $2 cup of coffee? Do we need 6 places that sell a $2 cup of coffee?
If we want to make sure everyone is paid fairly in the transactions of that coffee, as in I guarantee you your coffee comes from a place where there's probably just as large income disparity as
Here or anywhere else?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I can guarantee you personally that that cup of $2 coffee, if you so choose to buy it, everyone who took hands in that was paid fairly.
I like that.
Yeah. And another
And that's
thing
what
is,
makes the cost of it
we can
$2.
do
That.
that.
gives it the value of the $2. Whereas my coffee that's $1 was not grown sustainably.
and
Was
coffee
not.
is not a necessity by the way.
No, absolutely
However,
not.
you can still buy it with cash.
That's true.
And when coffee's gone, as it is going to go away, and that's through environmental factors, it'll be gone, and people will get over it.
People won't
But
miss
you
it.
know-
We'll take caffeine pills. We'll drink tea.
Well, the difference being is we're talking about needs versus wants, right?
Okay. I don't need coffee. I want
Right.
coffee.
Right.
I don't need.
But I see what you're saying. In fact, I was actually just looking at how a town in Iowa, or Omaha,
Des Moines, Iowa.
changed their policies to help out their own
funny-
economy.
that's a funny shirt.
As in, like, this collective of farmers came together and sat down and talked with one another to figure out how they can keep the money that they are sending out inside of their community.
Right.
As in, when we go to the grocery store, our produce is from California
That makes no sense.
and Mexico.
Right.
Why aren't we just changing the way that we farm for our community and keep the money in here?
Right.
You know who already does this? Switzerland.
Yeah, they keep all their stuff. They generate their own enough of their own power to sell power to other people, to sell power to Germany. That's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
So don't you think? Okay, so, and that's one of the reasons that I think Columbus is an amazing place. Is that while maybe we don't necessarily need another coffee shop, there's 6 in the short north, right? We get to have one, and then we can self-sustain it and self-support it because you're willing to still go to Mission and get a cup of coffee if you so choose, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you do,
Yeah.
right? Why not? They make good cup of coffee too. To support your local business. It's like becomes, I don't want to say communism, but like communism on a large scale doesn't always
We're
work.
talking about social democracy.
social democracy, sure, and so like a guy in DC can't tell a guy in Oregon how much bread he needs to grow, right? A group of farmers in Des Moines, Iowa, know how much they need to grow and how much the community needs. Therefore, they're able to fulfill those needs, and it works on a micro level.
Yeah.
That's why big scale communism doesn't work. But when these little cities, these little towns can have farmers markets, and everybody wants to go to the bars, and there's local chains, sure, like Corso, for example, but there's not like an Applebee's near here. You know what I mean? There's no corporate. At least that I'm aware of.
Area?
At least, yeah.
There what?
There's no Apple. There's no like giant corporate.
I'm saying that we're good at keeping.
Nationwide? I mean, like,
Well, those
I'm
are giant
talking
corporations
on this
that help. I'm talking about like small business in the sense that like we are very good at keeping Columbus relatively Columbus in the sense that
yeah, but
people
they're not
want to
doing
open
anything of value, like for the community, other than providing
jobs and
escapism.
escapism, jobs. A lot of people work at One Line Coffee, and a lot of people work at a new restaurant that opens up. Standard probably employs.
Right, but if we're not
Chris Corso
setting up
implies
any kind of
100.
infrastructure and policy to help the people who are supporting these businesses, it doesn't mean anything. It's all for naught. We're reiterating the problem. We're not learning from the mistakes that we already made or that's mistakes that other big cities have made. We're not planning accordingly. A friend used this. We're applying a Band-Aid to a gunshot wound, maybe.
We're applying it. What's the gunshot wound?
The gunshot, is not recognizing what's going on.
The real underbelly of the whole
yeah.
thing, because it looks pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because the Band-Aid looks cool. It's a Batman Band-Aid. It's sick. But underneath, there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that are happening quickly and quietly.
Yeah, or maybe applying a Band-Aid to a disease rather than a gunshot wound.
I like that more.
Yeah.
The disease is a better thing to maybe say.
Yeah.
Because it's systemic and it's in multiple communities, not just ours.
I mean,
all
yeah,
across the
we
United
have
States.
neighborhoods like Linden and then 4 miles away from it, Upper Arlington, which is a vast.
But that's
difference.
how income equality's been
Yeah,
forever.
but it's high here. It
It's
happens
high.
quite a bit.
Yeah. So what do you think?
and I think
Okay,
we're
so
still leading in that department.
as a city,
Yeah,
Right.
in the nation.
in the nation, what do you think then is a solution? Like, what would you have somebody like a thriving business owner in the short north do to help fix that problem? What would you have the whole world do to fix that issue?
Listen to one another. I mean, like actually, like look. I mean, and that's a hard thing to do. I think.
Because it becomes understanding and it becomes a quiet, like,
Right.
so you're going to have somebody sit across from you and we're going to have this conversation right now.
Yeah.
And it's
And
not,
the way that people communicate. We have implicit biases and stuff. It's tough. We also fall subject to poor decision making. And again, I think this may go back into anxiety and stress. We also say yes to our friends because they're our friends and not because it's the best thing.
the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Like being on this podcast.
And another thing is we are incredibly prideful in those things. As in, when we're wrong, we will make up excuses
Oh yeah.
as to why we're not wrong instead of stopping the whole entire thing, shutting it down, just being like, hey,
Let's have a real
I made a
conversation.
mistake.
Yeah.
I didn't think about this to this degree. I didn't think about it that way.
Right.
And I only thought about this wrong.
I thought about it this far
Yeah.
in one path. One path up the mountain. One example that we were using on our little intermittent break there was getting rid of cognitive biases, right? So the metaphor that Ben used was you're climbing up the mountain. There's tracks already made in the snow for you to climb. And those tracks have been there, but they're not necessarily right. So what can we do to erase those tracks and maybe start a new conversation and a new path to, I guess, equal prosperity at the top of the mountain?
I don't even know if you have to erase those tracks. You just let those people do their thing, but you got to figure
Yeah.
some shit
It's
out.
also going down, like skiing down the mountain.
You want to ski
But I
down the
think
mountain?
It's semantics, yeah, at that point.
You like the idea of going down instead of up?
Yeah,
Yeah, sounds
going
impossible.
down is, much easier.
Going up.
Going down's harder. Going
Is
down's when
it?
people, when you climb Mount Everest, I think 70% of people die on the way down.
Oh, that
Damn, that's
sucks.
wild.
Yeah.
Damn, I
Think
didn't
about
know
it, bro.
that.
You're
Well,
walking like this. It's like
well,
fucking
anywho,
really
it
hard.
would still, like, I guess,
That sucks.
it
Yeah,
is
I guess
pretty
we
hard
don't
to
really
do
know.
the right thing sometimes.
It's almost,
It's also really easy to do the right thing sometimes.
It is.
I'd say overarchingly, unfortunately, it seems to be harder.
Why?
I
Why is that
don't
the
know.
case?
I don't know. I think it starts
People want
from.
stuff, and when they don't get it, they act up.
I think it starts from that
See,
whole brother
They need to
bull.
grow up poor and black. So you'd be told no to a lot. No, we can't have that today.
We can't
Put
have
it
what?
back.
No, he's just saying growing up
Poor and black. You just get heard the term "no" a lot.
you hear it, so you're not expecting.
Implicitly.
Yeah, where I heard yes quite often. Oh, you want to?
Not every.
Yeah, not ever.
Not every time, but I did. I kind of had like. So you said this on the break too. Is that? I guess we're going into the race thing a little bit, which I'm cool to go into if you guys.
Certainly, I think
I
we
think
should
we should
all
get
talk
into
about
whatever-
it for sure.
See, and that's what I really
Whatever
want
comes
to
up.
have start happening. Is that like there's been so many times where it's like a quick trigger pull to not hear out what somebody's saying and just to be like, oh, we can't talk about that. Like at a party, you're not supposed to talk about race. You're not supposed to talk about politics. You're not supposed to talk about
Yeah, but
religion.
that's a social
Those are the
construct.
only
Yeah. Just
like
fucking
race.
interesting things
I'm
to
not
talk
trying to
about.
party with those people at all.
So that's why I bring up sex always, because that's like in the fringe fun.
Mhm.
But like, no, you should talk about the things that actually fucking are interesting to talk about
For sure.
and allow for a conversation to where you're hearing a different point of view, a different way up the mountain that somebody has found. It might not be the right way, it might not be your way, but at least you know about it. And just knowing about it can build. So there's sympathy and there's empathy, and that's something you were talking about. I try to have sympathy for all, but not empathy for everybody. Like I can sympathize with, let's go big, like Hitler, right? Failed art school, mom fucked him up. There's a lot of things that happened. Do I empathize with what he did? Do I think those were the right moves? No.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm certainly.
So I can sympathize with maybe somebody who's stealing or somebody who has to rob somebody. I can get why. I can get what might have happened. I can try to understand that, but I don't empathize with the fact that he actually did it. I'm not about to do it myself, and I would try to stop it maybe if I saw it to a
Right.
degree.
Well, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah, someone robbed our store.
What, somebody robbed one line?
Yeah, they took our tip jar.
Cash.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They
That's
needed it.
because they took
They
cash.
needed it.
Right.
And listen, there's ways, and if you were part of the community, you'd understand what is happening. As in, listen, ain't nobody need to die over the cash. One, here's a great, to your point about empathy and sympathy. It takes quite a bit to get to the point of where you need to go outside of your own realm of safety to take something that doesn't belong to you. This is beyond the fact of property, because that is a tough philosophical,
Question.
like understanding. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to steal.
No,
Like,
it's not
I mean,
easy. No, it's not.
yeah,
It takes a lot
it
of
takes a
pressure
lot.
and a lot of.
It also takes a lot to ask for help. I would love to see the cognitive research or mapping between the two.
I'm
To
sure it's
ask
out
for
there.
help.
Yeah.
Like genuinely ask for help
Right.
in a time of need and stealing.
And also, is the structure there? Is it easier to ask for help or is it easier to steal? I gotta think it's easier to steal. The
Right,
only
'cause
thing
you
the
don't have
only
to-
person you gotta
yeah.
ask yourself, hey, all right,
Yeah,
You,
You
only
gotta
gotta
go.
consult with yourself.
you gotta like take a
Exactly.
shot of whiskey, you gotta run in, you gotta do it. That's
Right.
it. You only have to consult with yourself.
Um,
Going into a proper channel for help, which there are in Columbus,
And
but
it's
there's also not
interesting
in Columbus.
to also understand the landscape that you're in, as in understanding the community that you're in, as in if I report this person who just stole this and they ask me, they're gonna ask profiling questions, which are
To help find the person.
to help find the person. But
Right.
unfortunately, we know that this is very unreliable. At least I know it's very unreliable. As in, if I say the race of this person, I say the height of this person, maybe if I can remember.
Right. And if you're fucking what?
and if I'm
a
wrong-
studier of height, how are you supposed to
Yeah,
guess if somebody's
exactly.
5'9"? I'm historically bad at thinking people are all 6 foot.
Yeah.
I just think everybody's 6 foot. I think I'm 6 foot. I'm not. I'm like
we
5'10".
know
I think
for
it's like
certain.
6 foot.
We have bad memories about them for bad calculators.
Do you know there's a
Um,
thing where there's a basketball game, a high school basketball game, and they made a gorilla run through the middle of the basketball game. Not a real gorilla, a man in a gorilla suit. Ran across the fucking floor of the game during halftime. Very quietly, very unannounced, they just did it. And then they asked everybody, who saw a gorilla? 75% of the people did not see a gorilla. And then the other 25% were easily just manipulated into, no, you didn't see, there's no way you saw a gorilla. Oh yeah, no, I didn't see a gorilla. Yeah, there wasn't a gorilla. That just
Yeah.
finished. You can just, the whole idea of, hey, did you see what happened? That is the worst way to go about solving a crime, and it's like a terrible statistic that we still use because we don't really have another way. I think they did it in Blink, in Malcolm Gladwell's Blink. They talked about it.
Yeah.
Great book about cognitive biases. It's unbelievable. And the fact that we still use it all the time. So what do you say to the officer? You tell him, yeah, he's
Don't
black.
call the cops.
You just don't call the cops.
No, yeah, you let it go. You came in here, you took some cash. That's
Well-
what it is. You do not.
That's
And
interesting.
you have to understand how to navigate situations. As in,
Correctly.
not all solutions work for other problems.
Right.
As in, I know that this is very minute. I know that this person is probably also transient in the sense that they might not be here too long.
No. They probably took that money and tried to try to move on to the next area.
Well, no, we're about to come into summer here soon in spring, which means we're going to get a whole new
they're pulling
slew of houseless individuals.
Right. Because they follow the weather. They have to.
Um,
You can't set up a tent right now on Indianola on the train tracks right now. You'd freeze. You'd die.
You can't have her post up on my patio and chill there for a few days. which
Has somebody done
happened
it?
to me recently, yeah.
Damn. dude.
and so it's very different.
And you didn't call the cops on that individual?
Nah.
Nobody in the neighborhood? Nobody in your housing unit
Nah,
did
my
it?
neighbors were trying to.
Right.
But I mean, it got kind of weird. Like he was going through our mail and shit.
See? Exactly. And
So
so
that
then
was
that
kinda
becomes a tough situation.
Yeah, it got kind of weird. But
So that's an interesting thing is you don't call the cops, right? That's what you chose not to do. That's what One Line chose not to do. Could you, or maybe they did. I don't know. We don't have to touch on what the actual actions that happened were, but we thought the right solution of this, right? Or at least that you have found. Is there a way to maybe go about it where, so that money would be insured? You can average, like, if you wanted to report that money, you could average the last, 2 weeks of, you could even go back to last year's reporting on how much tips you guys made the year before on that day, and the insurance company would have given you that money. Almost guaranteed. If you went back to the year before and you said, on average, we make this much on this day and this year, boom, here's your money back. You can't do that if there's no police report. So be it. You take a loss.
Yes, because that's what's best for the community.
That's what's best for the community. Instead of having the fact that in a gentrified neighborhood there was a robbery, bringing that to light would not maybe be the best idea.
Yeah, or addressing the actual problem. The problem isn't that they stole it.
The problem is that they had to steal.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you then? There's nobody who.
We're getting down to the
nitty-gritty now?
The requirement is people have to be better people. How do we get people to be better people?
Yeah.
That is
The
a
big
great
question. Yeah.
this is the question.
It is
How
the
do we get
question.
people to be better people, and how do we get people to understand that we're all
My
like that?
experience is you set an exemplar. You try and be a better you.
You try to
address-
pave that best way up or down the mountain.
Well, not
through your
in
actions.
a sense of you have to be checking back in with yourself for other people. You should just already innately want to be the best version of yourself. So
and you
how
should
do we
always
get
have to
people
check in with yourself to see if are my actions.
to want that, and
For
how do we
themselves.
encourage people to want to do that? Now, to ask that of someone who is constantly being berated in a system that isn't made for them,
Almost
fuck
impossible.
that.
Yeah, almost
Yeah,
impossible.
they're like, fuck that. That is refusing to hit the button anymore.
So
because the rules
are different.
Are
The
against
rules
you.
are against you. So let's take other people who have been put into that systemic racism, basically, right? So like the Jews were the original inhabitants of the ghetto, right? They were able to work their way through it and out of it by probably through keeping their dollar in the community.
Yeah, do you know how long they keep a dollar in their community?
What, Jewish people?
Yeah.
My guess is close to a month, probably.
I think that is actually for
Was it like 6 days or something like that?
Asian communities keep.
I know the
Oh,
African Americans
African-
keep it in for
an
less than a
hour.
week.
6 hours.
Yeah. it was
6
like-
hours?
Yeah, it's wild.
Hours.
That's very small.
Yeah.
That's a very small amount of
Yeah.
time compared to a day
Well,
even.
no
It's
shit.
fucking nuts.
And
Damn.
Jews got reparations too.
They did.
Big facts.
They did. We got some reparations due to the whole
Are you
Hitler
Jewish?
thing. I am, but not maybe my great
also,
maybe my
are
great
passing.
grandmother might have, but that's it.
As in
Okay.
Passing.
passing. Yeah, you're white passing. We
When you say
can't do that.
passing,
Right.
As
so
in, like-
just how I didn't know that you were a Jewish person. You know what I mean?
I automatically know that you're black
Right.
because you're
Exactly.
black.
Right.
What's up,
And
guys?
I'm mixed. Like I had a buddy the other day.
But it doesn't
so-
matter. You're other.
Right.
You're other.
Exactly. Like I had a buddy the other day that was like, oh, I
To
don't-
other meaning you check off the box other on the bottom of
No,
the
no, no.
fucking
It
card.
means you are creating a thing separate from yourself. As in, this is like me, but it is not. That is what othering is. It is an academic term
Okay.
to other someone or something.
So like if you're half
We have
Asian,
similar
half
principles and qualities, but we are not you. We are not like you.
right,
We're similar, but
we're different.
different.
Same but different.
But really, we're not. That is racism.
That's the problem.
That's it.
You're judging on the person on the color of the skin
and
instead of the
then
content
beyond
of
that
themselves.
is where we get into the power structure, which is you get to say which principles are of you,
Right.
and which principles are of us. And then at that point, it doesn't matter. You can say whatever it is.
And those cognitive biases are what
That is
inform,
what-
or excuse me,
what
structure
follows.
those up.
So
Okay.
if you're already practicing in a system and the system is producing the activities and actions of a people and you're saying, hey, those actions are bad, and that's the only actions that people can do, you're already setting them in a trap. The trap being you can't do anything else, but what you're producing is bad, and it's bad because we say it.
Yeah.
Not because it's actually
Not because
bad.
it is. It's bad because we say it is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're making the rule before anything has actually ever happened, which is interesting. So I have a little one to throw out just as a thing that I heard the other day that pissed me off. Friends, the show Friends, is a show about white privilege. So here's my problem with that statement, is the white privilege part, right? So I just want to see the feelers on how you guys respond to this. The idea that was running through my head, literally just the idea that I had, is because of that Pizzuti collection that we were talking about earlier. Saying just white privilege instead of just saying privileged furthers those. So it is a thing. It was a show of white privilege. That apartment was rent controlled, passed down through the generations, and that's what structured them to be able to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And then back when the grandmother probably owned the apartment, black people didn't live in the neighborhood.
Are you trying to say that we shouldn't we shouldn't recognize other people's privileges, or that we should not racialize privilege?
I think that when you racialize anything, it furthers racism.
But sometimes that's just facts, though.
Well,
But sometimes it's
no,
just
no, no, no,
facts.
no,
But
no.
if we're trying to
I
level
don't think
the playing,
so. I think I want you to actually go ahead and say it again.
Okay, so if you just say privilege, so if I say something's white privilege, it excludes black privilege, Asian people. It makes it my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to everybody have the same
No,
thing.
you're trying to pass the buck. That's what it sounds like.
Pass the book.
Pass the buck, as in share the burden of
The
your own
term
problem.
privilege.
Yeah,
It's not a problem. It's a
white
good
privilege
thing.
is a problem.
Why? They got a fucking rent controlled apartment, but I'm saying it almost excludes the fact that like a black person could get a rent controlled apartment and live that same lifestyle.
Right, but
And hang out at a
systematically they're up
Chances of that
against.
are almost zero.
Systematically, right? They're up against it,
It doesn't
because
matter.
doesn't the term reinforce the system?
And yes, that person has a privilege, but you still operate under white privilege,
Right.
regardless of someone else's privilege. And by racializing it, it is just defining what it is. That's it.
That's just okay.
It exists. That is what it
exists.
is.
And you have to draw it to its attention since its existence
Yes.
to make sure it exists.
Yes.
Right. Because if you just swipe it away, it doesn't exist. But what I thought it was doing is I thought it was further segregating the situation.
No. And I don't even think it's a problem even if it is. I mean, because it exists, regardless of what you call it, it is still
A thing that exists.
a thing that exists.
So say there was
Now,
a
if it
situation.
didn't exist anymore, wouldn't be a problem. I mean,
Right, but if there was something, so like say the show was reversed, right? So they do the 2019 version of Friends, where it's a interracial group of people hanging out at a coffee shop all day, chilling in a cool apartment. That's it, right? That's the whole show. That's the whole show of Friends, but they just do it.
Is that what Friends is about?
Yeah, there's no actual. It's a show about nothing, just like Seinfeld, but it's just a group of people who fornicate with each other.
Oh shit.
There's no problems or solving. Every show has a little sitcom issue that comes up.
I never really watched Friends.
I was watching the Parkers. You seen the Parkers?
No.
Used to come on UPN.
No. So you change it, right, to an interracial group of people. They're still privileged.
Yeah,
What do you
see,
call it, to an
listen,
interracial group
there's-
of privilege?
There's particular pre-notions that we have to know about what you're saying. Are you saying now black people are in control, or there is no? Are we operating in a perfect system? Or are you trying to put me in the trick bag, as in we have an interracial team of people who are still operating in the same exact system that we're operating now? Or is the system in itself reversed and black people are in control mystically?
So control is not really what I was more so talking about. I'm talking about just the
know.
language itself of saying anything is white or black. Like the Pizzuti, it's true that there are, but so for example, we were talking about the Pizzuti collection where the word black mark, like black mark on your record, is highlighted in black on steel, and then white knight. Those are the two examples that I have right now. There's a whole room of it though. It's really so that language. You're adding a positive to white. White is positive, black is negative.
Right.
We call you black. We call me white. That automatically flips that situation into negative and positive due to the system that is in place via the language.
Right.
So when you can further that via saying white privilege, doesn't that keep that power and positivity versus negativity in action?
No, because you're educated about it. You know it exists.
Because I'm educated about it.
Yeah.
So it allows me to not think of it that way.
Yeah, you know better.
But wouldn't it help? Okay, so for everybody who doesn't, so the answer then becomes education, I guess. But the chances of that really working out and happening have not been.
You already discounted it. Why did you say it like that?
Why? That education couldn't work?
Yeah, you just said it wouldn't work. Why do you think that it wouldn't work?
I hope it would, but I'm thinking that in the long run it hasn't thus far.
Well, maybe we're approaching it the wrong way.
Maybe that's true. Maybe
we're
we need
not
to switch
using
it the whole way around.
Particular language to try and help the problem. Maybe we don't really want to solve the problem.
No, we want to keep it how it is.
It
So
would
that-
be beneficial for white privilege to keep it how it is.
Right, but that's not what I'm wanting. It's just that I'm wanting,
So, yeah.
I guess, a quicker fix of language. So, for example, like at-risk youth is no
So,
longer
yeah,
the
can
proper
I-
term.
To that point, can I ask why you want a quicker?
Solution?
Yeah.
Because to change the dialogue and to change it into something new, I think removes previous cognitive biases. I think when you change the whole conversation and flip it on its head, for example, opportunity youth, or excuse me, at-risk youth, they just decided that now it's called opportunity youth.
Mm-hmm.
And the positivity and the correct way of thinking and the forwardness, I don't want to sit down next to an at-risk youth, but do I want to sit down next to an opportunity youth?
Why don't you want to sit down?
I'm
at
using
an
it.
at-risk
Well, I'm
youth?
using it as a general example. I don't necessarily
But
don't
why
mind
wouldn't someone?
because they're just the name of it alone thinks that they might mug you when you leave. Do you know what I'm saying?
And
The
why
term-
is that?
Because of the language that's put onto them, the name that's
The
been
language
put on them,
in conjunction with what?
the structure that's been in place to name them that way, the power structure that's called them that.
Right. And what else?
I don't know. You have to help me.
What they look like.
Yeah, but there's white at-risk youth and there's black at-risk youth.
Exactly, and that is it. That's the whole thing, is you wouldn't know until someone told you. But you can know, or you can make an assumption or have
Right
a
off the
bias
bat that they might be a person of
based on
color,
the way that we look.
which is a cognitive bias. But when you say opportunity youth, that goes
But
away.
that's what I'm saying is, through
you
symbiotics,
think?
you already know. You're already internalizing.
Through symbiotics, you know that at-risk youth is probably a person of color. But when you say opportunity youth, you don't have that bias already because there's no correlation between. There's unfortunately not the right correlation because opportunity has been taken away from that group.
Right.
That group of
So
colored
how do
people.
we dismantle internalized
That's what I'm
cognitive
saying. You
bias?
switch.
And
You
that
switch the language.
Switch the language. I agree that switching the language
It can be powerful.
can be very powerful.
Right.
But I also think not recognizing things for what they are
Is a bigger issue.
is a dangerous issue.
Yeah.
As in, like, people in America think that racism is not a problem. Racism is a massive problem, a problem that is pervasive, wide and austere. It changes. It is like a disease. It is like a pathogen.
Yeah. It
As in,
changes and adapts to the different
it
days.
does. It does.
And
And
now-
there is implicit racism, explicit racism, and I think implicit racism is far more detrimental than a Klan member walking down the street saying, "I fucking hate niggers." I think that
Because at least you know that person.
at least I know
that person-
definitively.
yeah.
Now,
Sure. So rock that hat. That's cool.
exactly. I know. I
If
know
you want
who
to, because
are,
at least I know
how
what
you
you're
feel.
thinking,
Yeah,
right?
for
You know
sure.
exactly
It's
how you
the
feel.
implicit one.
I see that dude. I'm
You
gonna
know
turn
what
around.
really hurts?
That
is
is-
when you're close to someone and then you bring up some.
And they say some wild
And
shit.
You're like, oh, this.
Oh, you don't get
damn.
it. Damn.
Yeah.
Like administering blackness. That is something that you can do.
Administering blackness.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Have you ever told one of your black friends, "I didn't know you were black"? You're the whitest black dude I know. You ever done it? It's okay.
I don't
if
think
you
so.
have.
I don't really think so. I've been told I've been the opposite of that. I've been told that before.
That you're the blackest white dude.
Yeah.
Who told you that?
When I used to wear Dickies, a larger version of this coat in Cleveland State, and then I used to just I think because I don't know. I've been told that.
Yeah, institutionally, you can do that.
And is that a bad thing?
What?
Yeah, that has to be a bad thing.
Yeah, dude.
Because you're
that's exactly
saying
what
that
we're
you're just
talking about. You can make it whatever it is. You decide what it is. We are simply reactionary to whatever you are.
to whatever I am.
Yeah. As in,
I'm losing
whatever,
it where we
whatever
are here.
You operate as a white person, as a white male. You identify as a white male.
Yeah.
Institutionally, the institution recognizes you as a white male.
Yeah.
You have the power to decide what is whiteness and what is blackness. That's, again, what we were talking about through instantiation of principles.
Sure.
You could say, if you're white, you are smart, and if you are black, you are dumb. Now, if we set up a system that doesn't educate black people, of course black people are going to be dumb. Not because of their race, but because the system
everybody's
is not
told them that they're dumb.
Right. But if we internalize that with race, implicitly, you will know. They're dark. They're dumb. They're dumb.
Yeah.
Because they're dark.
Right.
Not because the system is radically against them.
No.
And so we have not recognized that.
Across the board.
Yeah. Black people know, but white people are just now getting to this point where they can recognize this. And that is a hard thing to grapple with. Is something that you really don't have
control over because it's been built into my system of checking that box, of identifying
it's been set
it.
up for you.
Right.
Now you have the opportunity to dismantle it. As in, you have the duty to your brother to do something about it because you can. You have the tools to do it.
Which
the tool
is what?
that I don't.
Education.
Your whiteness.
The whiteness.
Yeah. You can teach other white people to let go of their implicit biases. You can if you really want to. You can do it through empathetic responses. You can do it by having. You can try.
You can try.
I
think I have tried by having to literally try to have conversations with people
of higher than ours,
which is unfortunate.
Because if black people, if their opinion mattered about it, it would be changed already.
So I think,
listen, they would be like, oh, we gotta stop killing them. Yeah, they're getting really angry, man.
They're getting pissed.
I would hate for that to be the case, but that's not the case.
Right.
No one's listening.
Do you think that
still?
So, if you think of it as, I think of problems as like an onion. You know, you peel back a layer. So like the first layer was the big one, you know, probably slavery, and then the next one is like segregation, and now we're getting to a place where it's not necessarily so black and white, not to be, you know, about it, but we can all use the same water fountain, right? So now it becomes a furthering. I think the problem is getting broken down, but you got to start
we apply
big.
Band-aids to things that are sicknesses, is what you're describing. And listen, remember at the beginning when we talked about when people are wrong and then they try to make up excuses for why they're right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're talking about. We
right
have created the onion and now we're trying to peel it back.
Now we're trying to fix it.
Right.
We're trying to get to the core of it, which is a bigger thing than just
address. But
right.
Again, we don't pay attention to history. We don't pay attention to other situations that are very similar, and we keep on peeling things back, but then we're like, oh, I don't know about that.
It's an ugly piece. Let's put a Band-Aid on it until the Band-Aid is no longer able to fix it.
Right.
Which is what maybe is happening a little bit now, at least. I know it's not perfect, but at least we're getting somewhere. I want to say that I want to end on like a hopeful note that like this isn't.
Yeah. No. Shit. I mean.
This isn't at one point or another been a negative conversation, and it's always. It's just been a very honest conversation, and I don't think that. I don't want to steer people away from doing this. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Well, having the same conversation.
Like, why can't you have this conversation downstairs without anybody getting nervous? Do you know what I mean about where it's going? Because they don't want to come off as.
They're probably implicitly racist.
Well, okay. So say you come off as an implicit racist, right? And you get worried that you're going to be called a racist. But if you're not called an implicit racist and you can't hear it for yourself, then you'll never know. So you can't.
See, that's where I beg to differ. I think you know. Certainly.
I don't know, man. I don't think.
Not everyone.
I don't think everybody knows, and that's why I'm saying I don't know if education can really.
You mean deep down they don't know?
Hell yeah, nigga.
Fair shout. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I really don't think that.
And if
they're willing
sounds
to.
Like honestly, it might be good for them to be called it, because then they're gonna.
That's what I'm saying. They're willing. At least they're willing able to think.
Being in the public also is very scary. As in, people don't like to be called out on things that they think they know and then find out they really don't know that much about it.
But that's what
Looking
education
dumb.
helps, is that it helps. Oh, okay, I didn't know this. Yeah, looking dumb, I guess, if you're in a group, it kind of sucks.
Which
Like,
is
if you're gonna
nothing
ever
wrong
have
with
to,
looking dumb. If
Yeah,
you're
it's
also
the
seeking
part about admitting you were wrong
right
and you
answers.
didn't think about it.
which nobody knows how to do anymore. It's a hard thing for people to do lately. It seems like
Yeah.
the fact that I've had this conversation, I brought up the friends thing
Mm-hmm.
to a bunch of different people. It's been the conversation I've been having lately to just try to see what people think about it, and how many people just turn it off immediately and are refusing to have it because of what it is not good.
No,
Because
that's
you
lame
need to
as
have
fuck.
the conversation.
Yeah, you gotta quit kicking it with those people. Straight up. I don't keep no people like that around me for sure.
Well, I just try to like reintroduce new questions to see if I can get something out of somebody. But I'm gonna wrap it. Thanks for coming on. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to say? Visit you at One Line. Visit you at Buy No Bull Shoes.
Can't wait.
No.
Nothing to plug.
I ain't selling nothing. No.
Yeah, I got to be better than what you are right now.
I think that one of the biggest takes from this is community and common sense.
And
Yeah,
communication.
And empathy.
Yeah.
And sympathy and communication. It's really not that hard.
It's not
Because
that
some
hard
shit
to
is
have this
specifically-
conversation
People get in their own way a lot.
because
for
they're
sure.
scared of it. I don't know what's scary about it, but it's just
Being found out.
Yeah, being
exposed.
found out.
Man.
Being
That is
told
it.
you are
That's
something that you
seriously
didn't know that you are, and you're like, oh fuck. Like I had like
There's no self-reflection.
like here's an example. I was at Bodega the other day,
there's no self-reflection. In
real,
the, yeah,
real twisted at Bodega, and I was our friend Cass that works at Cass.
Yeah.
That works there. She was trying to talk to me, and I kept talking over her, and she was like, "No, Kapri, you're not listening. Like you keep talking over me." I'm like, "No, I'm just like fucking around." She's like, "No, you keep talking over me. Like this is what men do. Like they just talk."
Oh,
over me."
mansplaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh fuck!" And I
Yeah.
know this kind of shit. Like I'm not a dumb person, but I was twisted out of my mind, and
And
she
you
told
just
me that, and I was
wouldn't
like,
stop.
"Fuck!" And
You
then
got
we drove
checked,
I
and you
got
got
checked,
checked,
and I was
and
like,
that's
"Damn,
good.
I needed that."
Bro, I was watching Casino Royale last night or 2 nights ago.
I just watched that shit the other day.
So funny. And so there's this girl who's supposed to be like the liaison
Sure.
in the whole like operation that they're trying to take down in this poker game.
Mm-hmm.
And she is supposed to be there for a reason. She is a spy who knows shit about poker.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy, and they're doing it for the case of the movie, but there's another old guy, an old white guy,
Please explain.
who is explaining everything that's happening to her in the game. And every time he did it. I know what they were doing. They were building context like, oh, there's 40 million in the
Right,
pot
of
now.
course.
I need to know that, I guess, as the movie viewer.
But she knows what the fuck going on.
She knows what the fuck's going
Yeah,
on. And he
right.
just keeps telling her. And she didn't even make like an expression during it when she get told she would just stay like neutral.
Yeah.
Because at least she didn't, like, if she would have nodded or something, it would have been. But it was funny seeing like mansplaining now that I
Yeah.
know what it is. Because I would have, a little kid watching that movie, you don't fucking know what it is.
Right.
You're just seeing James Bond kick some ass.
Right.
It's funny.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just now trying to understand. You're trying to suggest that we call white privilege by a different name, so that
No, you just drop the white.
No, we can't though.
But
We
if you
can't
drop,
the
but
white.
okay, so if you drop,
but because it'll be more helpful in white people understanding what they possess.
no, I don't.
You don't think white people possess it.
No, I don't. I
You
think
just are upset that no one else is being
called
called
black
on.
privilege or Asian
so
privilege.
You just want to tattle on somebody else.
No, it's not that. I think that
It's like, oh, but he's doing it too.
no, because it's not a bad thing. It's a privilege. It's a bad thing that everybody doesn't have it, but to be having it, I think labeling anything black or white, Asian or Hispanic, or putting these labels on, there's no Asian or Hispanic label, it's just black or white, makes things black or white. It eliminates the gray.
I think that's incredibly.
And when
false.
you're in the
I think
gray,
that's false as well.
okay, well, I think that when you're in the gray is when you can have the conversation because there is no white or there is no yes or no. It's in a
you
maybe.
just gotta get your head out of your ass.
Yeah, I
and,
think so,
and
for sure.
Think as a human would. We also have to understand that white privilege is an extremely new term. So this isn't something that white.
It's
people,
always been literally
Right.
since the foundation of.
right. But what I'm saying is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is like a new like.
This is just
Huff-
It's a new
whatever
term,
Huff
maybe.
Poe,
It's a
like,
new,
or
it's a
plus,
new,
but it's always
it's a new
existed.
PC term that's
Right.
been thrown around.
That now people are recognizing are being they're instantiating it in public. They can see it. It's starting to be seeable.
I get that it's not.
and you can recognize it in patterns of behavior and language, and you're now being called on it, and you've never been called on it before. It doesn't feel good. I think that's really what it is.
Yeah, and that's just some shit
And-
y'all gotta.
yeah.
work through, which is
Yeah.
fair.
It means
for
you're
sure.
behaving, you're misbehaving in the understanding of community and the understanding of our social contract,
You're getting a free pass through the community.
and you being called on it, you don't feel good about that you're not being called on it? Oh, well,
No,
I'm sorry.
Well,
that's the way it is. You should do something about it because you can.
yeah, I know. I'm not attacking. I'm
No,
attacking the
we know
language.
that, yeah,
We
I'm
know that
saying
you're
just in
not.
general, that was
Oh,
for
you're saying for everybody
everyone.
attack the act of privilege.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what it's called. The fact that it is going on is the bigger issue.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what,
And changing the language is a band-aid to the bigger issue.
If we all
Okay.
decide to
Cool.
ixnay the term white privilege, shit is gonna
Still go on.
it's gonna still go on.
It's not going to, because you have to identify the problem. You have to put a name.
If
you
you
have
have
to
an
put a
issue
face to
with
the
the
name.
term white privilege, you're
Having an issue in general.
fucking bugging.
Okay.
You're bugging.
I'm not. Yeah. To clarify again, though, I'm not having that issue. I'm just saying that. But I like that you name.
Anytime you do, you should
Check yourself.
check
Yeah.
yourself.
Think about it.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. I got to be somewhere 2:30. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
This
no
was a lot of fun. I appreciate you both coming on.
Des Moines,
Iowa.
On chain.
On Chang Gang.
peace.
Bye bye.
I'm not always right. I'm only trying to be nice with my unsolicited advice. Unsolicited advice.